Elevate TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
Yes, welcome to Man Unveiled show. This is a show that comes to you every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. I'm your host, Joe Wisdom, and as always, we're always excited to come to your sitting rooms, to your offices, and wherever you are watching us from, either from your phone, on Facebook, on YouTube, or on your TV. This is a family show, and we want to strengthen and encourage a man to find his place in the society. As it were, God created man in his own image and likeness and empowered him to be all that he created him to be. We have looked at the, different topics, the battles of men, we have looked at the family man, and today is a very special day. We are hosting a man I honor, a man I have worked with. This man is not an armchair general. No, he is a man who walks the talk. And as we listen to him tonight, as we have this discussion tonight, we are talking about the blueprint of man's wealth. Was man meant to be wealthy? And why is a man poor? Why are we battling economic battles? We are here to demystify and to deconstruct some of the facts that have been spoken to us, some inherited, some that have come with our cultures, that it's not possible to become wealthy. And when you become wealthy, wewe ni Masonic, wewe ni Illuminati, wealth is a kingdom principle, is a kingdom. We have a kingdom covenant. We have a divine covenant where men should be wealthy. I want to introduce my guest, James.
Yes.
And James is a consultant. He consults with banks. He is also a trainer, a corporate trainer. And as we share with him tonight, I want you to ask every question that you need to ask, and especially when our conversation is going on. James, I want you to feel free. He's a community leader. I know we have interacted at Cross Range, so I know he'll be introducing more about himself. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
It's a joy to join your team today.
Thank you.
And to discuss this very important topic in our nation. Our nation is considered a poor nation. We are currently probably among the lowest 50 in terms of wealth in the world. So we are ranked among the 50 poorest nations. And so a topic on discussing wealth, just trying to understand it, dig ancient principles, compare ourselves with other nations, it is very timely. 2 years ago when, the current president was picking up his mantle, he said that, he picked up this country when we had 5 million people listed on CRB. That's 5 million adults struggling with debt. And so the issue of wealth creation, poverty, is really important, very timely. So I'm very happy to be here.
Wow.
For those who are watching us for the first time, my name is James Murage Query. I come to you as a consultant in the banking sector, having done this for the last probably 13 years. I'm a community leader, and I also lead, I offer leadership and team guidance for a business forum in my local church at Sitam, Thika Town.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to join you.
You can shout out to some of the people possibly who are watching.
Yes, Dr. Ricky Lonzo, if you are catching me online, my fellow neighbors, if you are watching us, you're most welcome. Let us discuss these, share insights, and especially develop knowledge that we can pass on to our young ones.
Yeah.
And give them a good foundation for the future.
Wow.
Yes.
And because I want you to go home and get a good reception.
Yes.
Shout out to your wife, and your family, your children maybe are watching.
All right. I shared the link to this to my wife, my lovely wife, Mary Modoni Njoroge. Very recently, Mama Kayla Nyambura, and our 2 boys, Christian and Adrian. I'm glad that you're able to join us and tap into this session and the knowledge that you're going to share.
Wow,
Yes.
wow. Thank you, thank you. And our online followers and those who are watching us, I want you to engage us, keep us busy. If you get some bugger points, write them there, pin them there, ask questions. And I want to ask, why are men poor? I want you to write that on your Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you're watching us from. I know Anthony, the realtor, is watching. I know my wife, Linias Joe, is watching. And many people in Nakuru, in Roiro, actually tunasemanga UK, uko Kimbo. I know you are all watching. And Nairobi, here we are. I want James, because you are here to help us tonight.
Yes.
Why are men poor?
Well, not a very simple question, but it's a question we can answer.
Yes.
Because we can study patterns. We can look at nations that have done well over time and help their people to come out of poverty and ask ourselves, what is it that they did?
Yes.
And as we study patterns, we can also ask ourselves, why do some nations seem to lag so much compared to others? So there are patterns. And today, I would want us to start our lesson from the wisest man that ever lived.
Yes,
King
Solomon. Yes.
In Proverbs chapter 24, verse 27, he had given a hint to men about how they were supposed to manage the affairs of their income and their expenses. In Proverbs 24, verse 27, King Solomon had said to all men, put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. After that, build your house. What King Solomon was introducing to us is what we call priority. First things first. In creation of wealth, there are priorities. There are things you're not supposed to do before you do the others. So the writer of Proverbs had told us that priority number 1 was to put our fields ready.
All right.
And to ensure that our outdoor work was significantly invested in. And when we do those things, they're supposed to create, we say those things helps to create cash flow for us. In other words, they bring inflows. They create money and put money in our pockets. He said it is after you have done that that you should build your houses.
Wow.
Now, building your houses, reflect what you call capital expenditures.
Yes.
These are convenient things that we need. We need houses, we need cars. But he had said those things, convenient capital, must come after we have created streams of income. That is in the wisdom of King Solomon.
King Solomon, yes.
Now, it would appear that if men do not grasp and understand how wealth is created, God is not happy with them. I would want us to start at a point where we compare a poor nation and a wealthy nation. And I want to pick one particular statistic just to show you that in the question of creating wealth, men do not have an excuse. If you're not able to create wealth, then God is not pleased.
Are you saying we are poor by choice?
It is the things we do. When I look at nations that do very well, I find that one of the defining things that separates them is their knowledge and the way knowledge is utilized. So that you find, if it's their farmers, say dairy farmers, you find the way they produce their calves, the way they manage their feeds, compared to a poor farmer, them they are way ahead.
Yes.
They're doing the same things, but their knowledge is advanced.
Wow.
So, we can say that knowledge is the number 1 differentiator in creating wealth.
Wow.
All men are created equal, but the question of knowledge,
the point of departure.
Yes, it is what separates men. And you will remember in the Bible, you know, the word of God says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge, yes.
Now, what does that mean? It means the responsibility of knowledge is the responsibility of man. It is not the responsibility of God.
Yes.
If it was the responsibility of God, nobody would perish. But now he has left knowledge at the hands of men. If you have a farm, he wants you to go and look out for knowledge, to know what tree is good in my farm. What tree can give me the highest value. He will not come and tell you what tree. He wants you to go and find out how is water harvested and how can I, you know, do things like irrigation in my farm. Those things are the responsibility of men. So in places where men have learned how to do these things, they are able to overcome poverty.
Wow. In
places where men lag behind in these things, you know, they struggle so much with poverty. I want to give you an example of where knowledge sets a difference.
Yes.
You know, when a person dies and we go to their burial,
yes,
we always say that it is the will of God. But is it so?
Tell us.
Today, life expectancy in Kenya stands at 62 years.
Yes.
Life expectancy, that is the average number of years a man live on earth. In Okinawa, in Japan, life expectancy is 87 years.
87?
87, a difference of 25. Now what that means is that if you took a man from Nairobi here today, and you took him to Okinawa,
yes,
most likely you've added him 25 years.
Okay.
So then, you know, if that man lives longer in Japan than in Kenya,
yes,
are we still supposed to say that it is the will of God?
No.
When men are unable to make wealth, their poverty even affect what you call sacrosanct issues. You know, the things that are supposed to be decided by God.
Okay.
So men are supposed to make wealth.
Yes.
And what you'll be sharing today are the ways or the principles,
yes,
that men are supposed to apply.
Wow.
So then, so that they're able to apply wealth.
I want to shout out to some people who are watching us here.
Okay.
Charles Kamau Manyara, thank you, sir. The Man Unveiled show, waiting for the blueprint. There are people who are waiting for the blueprint.
Yes.
Linus Joe, to Kondani, thank you. Keep Koril Victor, thank you, sir, for watching. Let's continue sharing. And where to Kiskia Bonga Point? Pin it there. We want to read your comments and see, in case you have a question out there. One of the things that I have realized, you know, there's someone who said,
yes,
James,
yes,
that the difference between the richest man and the poorest man in the world is information.
Yes.
That there's what the rich man knows,
yes,
the poor man doesn't know.
Yeah, we'll discuss it later. Yes. We call it the mystery of missing knowledge.
Yes.
You know, there's some work done around that area.
Yeah.
Which is really in the realm of knowledge. When men don't know,
yes,
what happens. And we've already said knowledge is men's responsibility.
Responsibility, yeah.
Now, I want us to go back to history a bit.
Yes.
You know, one of the most significant events to happen in the last century was the Second World War. How did the Second World War start? And what was the question? Why were the people fighting? It started in 1926. The whole idea started in 1926. When a young man wrote a book called Mein Kampf. And in that book he said he does not understand how Jews in Germany were so successful. So the question was, why are Jews very successful in Germany? At the same time, in the US, one of the wealthiest men, who we still use his innovation because he made the first car, Henry Ford, did an almost similar book. It was called The International Jew, the world's foremost problem. Henry Ford studied Jews in the US, and he said something needs to be done to this race that seems to be progressing and succeeding too fast. When the Second World War started, it was a question of that one race, mainly the Jews, are successful. And then, of course, the whole, the world started. In about 7 years, 6 million Jews had been killed. And after the Second World War, a lot of studies were done to find out exactly what was the issue. And the antagonism was found to be that they were successful. I read a book done by a rabbi called Levi Brackman. And in his first topic, he says, the book is called Business Secrets from the Jews. he says the question of the success of Jews have been studied so much. And he gives statistics to show that indeed, it is not a wrong question, because across the world, Jews tend to be very successful.
Yeah, yeah.
Today, I mean, all our viewers most likely are using technology developed by Jews. Google by Larry Page and Sergey Brin, Facebook by Mark Zuckerberg, a lot of inventions in technology. Today we say, think agriculture, think Israel. They lead in agriculture.
So these people, their origin is Israel.
Yeah, they are they are the descendants of Jacob. And the blueprints that you're going to learn today, we are actually picking them from, we are picking from them.
Wow.
One time, a Jew was on a train in Russia. He was moving from a town called Minsk to another town called Pinsk. And a Russian entered the train, and when he saw that this is a Jew, he went to him and asked him, what is the secret to your success? And the Jew told him, the Torah. The Torah is a secret.
Okay. That is the word of God.
Yeah, the Torah among the Jews is basically the first 5 books in the Bible.
Yes.
Since 2017, I've taken considerable time to go back to the first 5 books in the Bible. Just find out, when this Jew said it is in the Torah.
When we talk about the first 5 books, Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy,
yes,
Leviticus.
Yes.
All right.
That is what they call the Torah. And they say the secret to the success is there. Now, to a plain person, when you read the Torah, the first 5 books in the Bible, it may not be very, it may not be very obvious.
Would assume it's stories.
They actually look like historical books. In fact, today, a lot of people dismiss those stories.
Yeah, yeah.
They study the story of Abraham being told to go and sacrifice his son, and they say, it doesn't make sense. But today, I'm going to share with you principles gotten from there.
Wow.
And one of the most developed and one of the fastest, growing economies, one of the strongest military nations in the world, say that their success comes from there.
Wow.
So those are the blueprints that you'll be looking at. So the Second World War is a question of why are they successful?
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Right? And one of the questions I've always tried to find out is there knowledge that you can give a group of people to make them become better?
That liberates them.
Yes, that makes them successful. Say you take a sample of 100 people.
Yes. Give
them this knowledge. And then you have another 100 people who you don't give the knowledge.
Yes.
Then as you study them, can we find a difference? The blueprints that we're going to share today, I believe, if you took a sample and people practiced, we would find a difference. Because there are nations that have said, this is how we do things.
Wow. I would kindly ask a man who is watching us, or maybe a lady who is watching us, kindly share this video. Share this program. You don't want anyone to miss. The people who have been borrowing you money, now wanakopa na harudishi. This is the show. They need to hear how they can make wealth, how they can generate wealth. And as I said, James Muraga is not an armchair general. He's a man who walks the talk. I know part of his story, and I can tell you the principles that are being shared here are practical. We call it phronesis, practical wisdom. And we are just about to get the first blueprint.
Yes.
Come on, sir.
Blueprint number 1.
Yes.
We say man created like God. So we say the first blueprint that man must choose to create wealth is ability, what we call divine ability or capacity.
Wow.
Now, I want to use a very simple example so that you understand what capacity is. For those who know an ostrich is a bird. It's a bird that does not have the capacity to fly.
Yeah.
So capacity, you understand it in that way. You either have it or
you don't
not.
have it.
The first blueprint in creating wealth is capacity.
Okay.
Which is a divine ability that God gave to all men right at birth.
Okay.
And I'll just do a small recap so that people
You
understand.
didn't need to go to school.
Yes, I'll give you examples. Even right here in Kenya, 2 years ago, a young man from Kenya made the nation proud.
Yes.
When he went to Austria, the country that neighbors Germany and Luxembourg, the most developed nation on earth, or rather the nation with the highest per capita in the world. And he went there and he literally stopped that country because he was exercising a divine ability to run a marathon.
Wow.
Eliud Kipchoge. When Eliud Kipchoge runs a marathon, what is that he's doing?
Okay.
We call that divine ability. But for you to understand divine ability, we need to go back to the beginning. And we say that when God created man, he did not leave them hapless or hopeless. He did not just put man on earth without any help or without any resource.
He didn't want a man to get stranded in life.
Yes, he did not want, and it is not part of the design of God for men to be stranded. So when we find men struggling with creating income, creating wealth, raising food for the family, building shelter, I mean, there's something that we are not aligning to the divine creation of God.
Yes.
God, you remember when God created Adam, he placed him in a proper place.
Yes.
Garden of Eden,
Yeah.
there is sufficient food,
There's water.
sufficient shelter. So there was no problem of slums.
Yeah.
There was no problem of lack of food. And that was part of his plan.
Wow.
Now, divine ability did not start with man. That capacity that God gave men.
Wow.
I want to take you to...
Repeat that again, James. Divine ability.
It did not start with man.
It did not start with man.
It started with God.
It started with God.
And where did it start? Right from Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. Which says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, Jews studied the earth as an enterprise.
Wow.
And they say, the earth is the biggest and most sustainable enterprise ever.
Wow.
So it's an enterprise, just like the way you would go and open a business.
Okay.
Now, the next question becomes, who is the owner of that enterprise? It is God.
The creator.
God is the owner of the biggest
Enterprise.
and most sustainable. Sustainable in the sense that since it started, it has not failed. The way the systems of earth, the rivers, the mountains, the temperatures, the rainfall,
Yes.
you know, the insects and the millions of, insects that moves along the earth.
Wow.
Those things, they are very sustainable. They don't fail. So he's the most, he's the owner of the biggest and most sustainable enterprise. So in business we say, he's the biggest entrepreneur.
Ah, I like that.
Right from Genesis 1:1. But now, the question becomes, why did he create this enterprise? And we find that right at the beginning of time, God had a problem. And I would want you to remember that word, problem. God had a problem. What was the problem? If we study the work that he did in creation, we will see the problem and then we will see the solution that he gave. God went to create. He created the first day, and at the end of the first day, he was not satisfied. So he moved on to the second day, the third day, the fifth day, still not satisfied. On the sixth day, when he created man, he stopped. Which basically means that what he was looking for, he found it. The problem that was there in the beginning was that God, in his nature and in his divine power, requires to be worshipped by a creation that understands him. And so for the completeness of the system, man had to be created. So we talk of a problem at the beginning and a solution.
Yes.
So man became the first solution in the order of things. We actually say man is the biggest solution ever because he solved the greatest problem that God had. Now we are told that the man that God created, he made him in his own image.
Yes.
So one of the things that define a man is that all men carry an ability, every man was assigned a problem and an ability to solve the problem.
Wow. So we are problem solvers.
We are problem solvers. And that is how God wanted it.
Yes.
That to every man, you are given a divine ability to solve, even if it's one problem in the world, for a very good reason, as you're going to see. So men are problem solvers. And the divine ability that men were given were meant to provide a solution to mankind. One solution, a solution of some kind. So, blueprint number one in creating wealth is man tapping into a divine ability that God gave him in solving a problem. Because we find God starts with a problem, creates a man. In other words, from problem to solution. All men are supposed to be actively involved in solving a particular problem in the world.
Wow.
Now, I can use simple examples so that people understand this.
Yes.
I'll use biblical examples to understand what this capacity means. That you have some capacity that nature expects you to activate. We find Joseph, a young man born, in the family of
Jacob.
In the family of Jacob. When he's still a very young boy, when he goes to sleep, we are told that he would have dreams, and when he wakes up in the morning, he's able to interpret them. Okay? So that ability, it's divine. Now, as he grows up, his divine ability becomes a solution when he lands in Egypt, because then Pharaoh there has a dream that requires an interpreter, and when Joseph is brought, he applies his divine ability to solve a problem. And the moment he does that, Pharaoh makes him
A governor.
Yeah, he makes him the second in command in Egypt.
There's someone here, James, saying, bring it down to where we are.
Yes.
There are people who are stranded right there. They want to know what practical, what are these divine abilities to someone who is watching us right now. They are stranded, they feel like they are very broke.
Yes.
Actually, they have some few debts. Right now, they are receiving calls. Watu wakidaiwa na watu madeni.
Okay.
Actually, there is a friend of here called Nesh. Anasema there are those people who have been borrowing me money. Break it down for them.
All right.
Yeah.
So we've said God gave all men some capacity, some ability. When you're growing up and you find that you have passion for something like food. Okay?
Okay.
That capacity or ability to connect to that is a message for you about what you should be doing.
You love food, you love cooking.
Yes. It is a divine enablement you have.
Yes.
That should be brought out to become an enterprise.
All right.
When a child is musically gifted, so that when they're still very young, they're just very good with music.
Yes.
Part of our work as parents is to cause that ability to become an enterprise.
Wow.
Right? Wow. When we see that someone is very good with tools,
yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
You know, a kid is very good with the hammer, he's always touching nails.
He's very technical.
He's very technical. You always want to connect wires. That is, you know, especially when you have two boys, one is very good at that, another one is not.
Yes.
Then it speaks to something he should do in the enterprise world.
The one who keep destroying things in the house is an engineer. You just know that that person is an engineer.
Exactly. It is, you know, what that person has is a capacity to do something.
Yes.
And when you look at Joseph as an example,
yes,
then you realize that that ability to dream is not a mistake. It is something that should be utilized in the enterprise world. Now, in this divine ability, it is not enough to just discover it. I'll use the example of someone like Eliud Kipchoge.
Yes.
Eliud Kipchoge is a wonderful marathon runner. Now, so we talk of discovering that ability, going to exercise it or to educate it. So if you love baking, it is not enough to say I love baking.
Yes.
You need to go and exercise it or, you know, practice it.
You can cook poison.
Give it knowledge.
Wow.
Then once you give it knowledge, you take it to the marketplace.
Wow.
If, you know, our marathon runner just runs in the village, he doesn't practice, you know, he doesn't market his ability, then he would not be known.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
that ability would be would be lost.
Yeah.
Other examples in the Bible for those divine abilities, David.
Yeah.
The Bible says he was a gifted, harp player.
Yes. Stone thrower.
Yes.
You know, they say that David most likely was a Luo. The way he was saying, Kaupole.
Amazing. But did you know that the first time David went to the palace, he went because he was good in playing the lyre.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is something he had practiced in the wilderness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that divine ability,
Yes.
it means a lot to your creating wealth.
Wow.
Even the ability to speak to people, the ability to counsel people, the ability to write,
Wow.
the ability to connect wires, the ability...
As we connect the wires,
Yes.
just hold those wires there.
Yes.
Because we are coming back.
Fantastic.
I want us to take a short break. Then we'll be coming back reading your comments. Please talk to another man. In this show, we say it takes a man to get the best out of another man. Coming back shortly.
After several years of dedicated translation work, the Pokomo community received the complete Bible in their heart language on 30th September 2023. Your support and presence at last year's run for the Bibles played a crucial part in making it possible, allowing the Pokomo community to now engage with God's Word in the language they understand best. BTL once again invites you to the 17th edition of the Run for the Bibles on 16th March 2024. The 10 kilometers run and 5 kilometers walk will take place at the Carnival Grounds in Nairobi, Nakuru High School in Nakuru, and Potter's House Academy in Eldoret, starting at 7:30 a.m. Register today at the BTL centers in Upper Hill, Ruiru, AGC Lakeview Nakuru, Reformed Church Eldoret, and at the Kesuk bookshops in Nairobi, and get a t-shirt for 1,500 Kenyan shillings for adults and 1,000 Kenyan shillings for children. Additionally, consider making a donation or sponsoring others to the run. Use paybill number 898301, account number RUN. For further details, contact us on 0722 209 606 or email info@btlkenya.org. Help us fulfill our 2024 translation completions for the complete Bible in Marakwet language and New Testaments in Chonyi, Wata, Chuka, Upper Pokomo and Tugen languages. Bible Translation and Literacy, BTL, reaching the unreached communities with God's Word in their language.
Welcome back. Man Unveiled Show. We are here to break it down to what you are doing. I don't want you to be stranded. God never created man, put him on the surface of the earth to get confused or stranded. God wants you to put your life in order. God wants you to walk in divine health, divine strength, and divine wealth. Wealth is your portion. Wealth is a kingdom promise. God promised that you should walk in dominion. One of the mandates that God gave Adam, that take dominion, reign here on earth. When you read the book of Revelation 1:5 says that we have become kings and priests, and we shall reign here on earth. So you must dominate. You know, remember, if you don't take dominion, you'll be dominated. And we have James Murage here, breaking it as it is.
Yes.
Before we go to James, I want to acknowledge some of our viewers. Eric Mwenda, God is the biggest entrepreneur. That was well captured. Thank you, Eric. Gladys Maina, thank you. And I don't know whether your husband is there. James, he should be watching. Mwende mpigie umwambie akuje watch hii show. Charles Kamau Manyara, thank you sir. Hapo kwa problem ya Mungu nasikiza sana. Because God created a solution.
Yes.
Then Eric Moda says that every man has a divine ability to solve a problem. Sam Ambrose, God bless you, all the way from Nakuru City. Nesh, can we call this divine ability to be your God-given talent? That's a question. You'll answer it, or your gifting. Thank you, Monica. Monique's chosen Munge. Thank you. I'm sure all the way from United States. God bless you for watching. Busoro Kevin is watching. Joy Njoru, this is my cousin. She's also watching.
Okay.
Abel Joroge tuned in. God bless you. Dennis Mongai. Thank you for watching. Keep Khalil Kevin. Thank you all for watching. Keep pinning those points there. Well, ukisikia tu boga point, pin it there. There's someone else who didn't get it and they will find it right there. James, we are talking about the blueprint.
Yes.
We want to hear more about this knowledge thing.
Right.
And this passion and what Nesh is asking.
All right.
Yes.
Last year, I led a team from our church.
Yes.
You know, when you have a capacity to do something, I've said it is not enough. You know, it is not enough to make you wealth. You need to go to the next level where that capacity is turned into an enterprise.
Okay.
So I led a team, and we visited Kirdi.
Okay. Kirdi means what?
Kenya Industrialization Research and Development Institute.
Wow.
It's one of the government, parastatals.
Wow.
That is set up to do something very unique. I want to tell our viewers today that if, for example, you're passionate about baking, how does that become an enterprise for you?
Enterprise, yes.
You see, you should be able to convert that ability to a product. Say, you make bread or a cake.
Yes.
If you visit Kirdi in South Sea, and the other centers they have, I think they have...
Kindly somebody pin Kirdi there, because there are people who will be following.
Yes. If you go to Kirdi, and you say that you're very passionate about baking, they only charge you a very small training fee for 1 week.
Wow.
They train you how to make the bread that you want.
Wow.
And then they go to another level. They tell you, since you are a young entrepreneur and you don't have the capital, you can use our resources, our equipment for 6 to 18 months to be making your bread here. And then your work will now be to market it.
Wow.
In other words, we move from capacity or ability or passion. You know, the United Nations actually recognize it as passion. Because they say, you've been through the ILO program, which says, there's no need to train a man business if you cannot help him to identify his passion.
His passion, that's true.
Which is basically the compass. Why was he created? Why was he created? What is he supposed to be doing on earth? So Kirdi can be a very practical way to convert something you like or something that you feel you are enabled to do into an enterprise.
Yes.
And they can make hundreds of products through Kirdi.
Wow.
Now, what the government is currently trying to do is to take Kirdi or the model to the counties, what we are calling the county aggregation parks.
Okay.
It is actually a mini Kirdi, so that you have equipment for bakery, equipment for making chemicals, equipment for making animal feeds, equipment for making various engineering products, equipment for making leather products, right at the county level. So that if you have a liking, say, for dairy, if you love cows so much, how do you get maximum value out of it? I invited the Director General Kirdi to come to a forum, and he spoke to us. Wow. And he said, if you slaughter a cow and you only consume the meat, and you throw away the hide, you only get 10% of the value of that cow. Wow. Meaning you have lost so much. Yes. So we move from capacity to enterprise, and the gap there is normally knowledge. Yeah. So just in case you forget, for Eliud Kipchoge to become an athlete that is recognized in the world, he has to take the ability, you practice it, which is adding knowledge, and then he has to brand. He has to look for people to help him know which marathon to attend in the world. Yeah.
They have managers. They have
otherwise, if you do it in the village only, you will die there.
You become a local champion.
Yeah, because then someone has not helped you to convert it into an enterprise.
Yes. Wow.
Now, one of the nations that is very good in this knowledge that you're sharing are the Jews. They have a Hebrew word for what we call passion, and it's called nimiut haratzon, which is
New?
nimiut.
Nimiut.
Yes, nimiut haratzon.
Oh.
It's in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Basically, it talks about an inner drive in men.
Wow.
And you know, the foundational in training their children is educating the area that a child shows inner drive.
Wow.
So most likely a child that ends up as a farmer among Jews, most likely he had shown that interest.
Wow.
And so even as he grow up, that ability to be a farmer will not be just for business. It is self-sustaining. It is sustainable.
Wow.
So that is about the first blueprint, capacity. I would want to challenge my viewer to go and listen to Steve Jobs.
Okay.
Steve Jobs created what is today the biggest company in the world. Apple, last year, their total revenue was about 400 billion US dollars. That's about 60 trillion, which is like many African countries combined.
Yeah.
And one time, Steve Jobs went to give a speech, you know, at a university graduation. And that speech on YouTube is called Connecting the Dots.
Connecting the dots. Somebody pinned there, connecting the dots, because we are supposed to go there after this.
Connecting the dots. He was giving the speech at Stanford University in a graduation ceremony. Of course, he said he's lucky to be in a in a congregation of graduates because he never graduated from university. And this is what happened. He was admitted at Reed's College to study some course. But when he did 1 year, he realized that the parents were really struggling. And so he decided to drop out of college. But he said that speech that he did, when he dropped out of the formal college, he did not leave the college. He stayed back for another 18 months. Because in his first year of study, he had discovered a class that he connected with.
Wow.
And that class was on calligraphy.
Okay.
He stayed back at Reed's College to study calligraphy informally. He would just attend classes, not do any exam.
Any exam, yeah.
And
so he was technically not in school, but he was following where his interest was.
Yes, because the day he went into that calligraphy class, he felt that that was his area of capacity.
Wow.
Now he says in 1994 when they were creating the first Macintosh, their first computer, what differentiated it in the market was actually his input on calligraphy.
Wow.
You know what we now call fonts on computers? That was the work of calligraphy. And when he input that in their first computer, when it went out in the market, it differentiated it.
It became the selling point.
Yes, and it became very successful. And from then on, of course, he had challenges along the way, but from then on, you can see that, you know, he became very successful.
Wow.
What does he? He traces that success to the time he studied calligraphy.
Wow.
Now, what connects a young man to calligraphy? The word is capacity, or that divine ability, a divine inner drive that connects you to something. Yeah. I would also want to ask my viewers to go and, you know, read the book by Napoleon Hill. You know, when you do personal finance management, we ask people to go and read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Early 1920s, Napoleon Hill, who was a journalist, went to interview the then most successful American. His name was Andrew Carnegie. And he wanted to ask him, what is the formula for success? And Andrew Carnegie told him, if I give you that answer, it may be subjective. It may not apply to all people.
Yeah, yeah.
So he gave him a challenge. He told him, I'm going to finance you. Go and look for other successful men in the US. Ask them the same question. Then come and do a report. That report ended up being the book we call Think and Grow Rich.
Wow.
And Napoleon Hill says he interviewed 500 of the most successful Americans then.
Yeah.
One of them ended up being an American president. His name was Wilson Woodrow, and many other people. In his second chapter of that book, he says, as he interacted with these successful men, he discovered that all of them seemed to have a very strong attachment to one thing. He called it a very strong desire to achieve in one line. So you'd find a man who is only interested in publishing books. He would find a man who is only interested in rearing dairy cattle. Another man is interested in construction. He called it inner desire.
Wow.
Or, you know, a strong desire. And the question becomes, where does this strong desire come from among men? We trace it back to the Bible.
Yeah.
That inner ability that God gave men.
Wow.
It was meant for enterprise. It was meant to solve problems in the world. Now, I want to say something. You know, when we study business, you know, many people ask, I want to start an enterprise. What business? We say business should be born out of the collision between that inner ability or capacity versus the problem in a community.
Yes.
So you are very passionate about baking. How do you bring up a business? It is that ability. Then you study within your community. Where is it that people don't get bread? So a collision between ability versus a problem.
A problem, yes.
Because you were created to be a solution.
Wow.
That is a solution you should give.
We are talking to you right there from your sitting room, from your office, or wherever you're watching us from, the comfort of where you are sitting or where you are standing. As a man, we are addressing the issue of enterprise, the blueprint, wealth creation. And we are saying that you don't need to sit there as a man when you're jobless, not able to provide for your family. We know we are living in hard economic times, but can you imagine how James is breaking it here? That from what you love doing, from the capacity that is God-given. And this capacity, James, you said, it was there even before you went to school. Actually, you need to identify it first. So the fact that you lost your job does not mean that you are jobless. You can still do something with what God has given you. Things that God has freely given you. So I want to acknowledge some few people who are here. There is Elder Nicholas Dohio, PCA Huruma. True God has given us his divine nature to build wealth according to 2 Peter 1, 3 and 4. Thank you so much. Great eye opener for wealth creation. Well done. Winnie Doire, thank you, Winnie. I know Winnie. Erija Kemanzi, watching from Mukuru kwa Ruben. Thank you so much. We continue building on this topic, and I know that you are speaking to another man. As we always say, that it takes a man to get the best out of another man. You can't be the man that God wants to use to change the life of a different man. You don't need to struggle. Look at the people around you. If you are all struggling, please listen and follow this keenly. The books that James is recommending, kindly build a culture of reading. Wacha hii kitu ya kusema ati Africans don't read. You know, who told you must be that African that doesn't read? You can be an African that read.
Yes.
You can bring a difference through reading. James, quickly, I want us to we have some few minutes remaining. We want us to break. I know we can't we can't get through the 3 points, but I know we can do justice.
All right.
To where we are right now.
Yes.
And make it very practical, because after this, I know there are men who will go to do enterprise tomorrow morning.
All right.
Yes.
So number one, you need to understand that you are created to be a solution. There's a solution that the world awaits from you. And that solution is best within your area of natural capacity, or what you call divine ability. And we also say it is within that area that you can get the greatest value. And we say value rises when there is scarcity. You know, the only area that you can be very scarce, in other words, it is the one area that other people are not able to copy you. It is within that area. Because of time, allow me to touch on the other blueprints. Then okay. Maybe on a later time we can delve deeper into them.
You can revisit. Yeah, maybe one.
The second blueprint in creating wealth is what you call physical resources.
Wow.
Physical, something that can be touched.
Yes.
When God appeared to Moses in Mount Sinai, and he spoke to him, you know, he asked him a question: what is in your hand?
Yes.
And Moses realized he was holding, you know, a walking stick.
Lord, yes.
And that walking stick became very important in God using Moses to accomplish his purpose.
The one that parted The Red Sea.
Yes. Elijah, during the time of Ahab, runs away and goes to a place in Zarephath. And he finds a widow, and he asks the widow to make for him bread. And the widow says, I have just flour to make one,
Just a little flour. Actually, she asked, what do you have in your house?
Yeah.
Just a little flour.
But the question was, what is in your house?
What is in your house, yes.
Elisha, a woman who was a widow, the husband had died, left them in a lot of debt, comes to Elisha. And, he's saying, the creditors want to take my children as slaves because of the debt.
Yes.
What was the question from Elisha?
What do you have?
What do you have in your house? Now, the promised land...
A little oil.
The promised land of Canaan was physical resource. And at one point, Moses, in anticipation of them arriving in Canaan, sent 12 spies to go and just have a feel of the land. And he told them, when you go there, touch the soil, find out what kind of soil is it. He told them, when you go to that land, observe and find out if there are trees. And then he told them, when coming back, ensure you come, try to come with some fruits from that land. Part of the blueprint of creating world is on the natural resources that God has given to us, not only as individuals, but also as nations. Kenya, we have a lot of land, arable land.
Yes.
We have a lot of water, a lot of water in rivers, but God even adds us. He sends us rain.
Yes.
Like now we are anticipating rains. We have a lot of solar energy. By chance, God placed Kenya right at the equator. And part of that positioning was that we would be receiving a lot of solar energy on a daily basis. Now I want to give an example of how natural resources are used in creating wealth. Saudi Arabia is one of the wealthiest nations on earth. It's a desert country, very hot. And if the people of Saudi Arabia relied on observing the top of the land, the surface of the land, they would be very poor. And they would die because the place is very hot.
Yeah.
In natural resources, we talk of looking for knowledge on how to utilize the natural resource. So what Saudi Arabians did is, they went out to people who know how to explore deserts. They went to the Americans. When the Americans came to explore their land, they found that the wealth of that nation was hidden underneath.
Okay, the minerals.
It was crude oil.
Okay.
And since that happened, the country has been rising. It is one of the wealthiest nations on the earth. Women in Saudi Arabia, when they go to shopping, they carry money in millions of dollars. When they go to London, when they go to Paris, they carry money in millions of dollars. Money to them is excess. Where does their wealth come from? Natural resources.
Natural resources.
I want to talk to the people watching who
Yes,
have a little
bring it
piece of
home.
land.
Yes.
You have a little piece of land that you have not touched for the last 10 years.
Yes.
You have some land in the village. I talk of people who have land that touches a river.
Yeah.
It is tragic. If you have a physical resource, land, touching another physical resource, a river, but you don't make wealth out of it. I say when you see that connection, land touching a river, that's a message about something you're supposed to be doing.
Wow.
And I've said, with natural resources, you don't have to know everything. Saudi Arabians didn't know how to explore oil. You have to go and look out for people who know how to get the best out of your natural resource. Natural resources, we are talking of anything that is physical on earth. We are talking of trees. Nowadays, a lot of people are going into herbal medicine because they have realized that the trees that grow within us, they are not only bushes.
They're medicinal,
They are medicine. It is studying the things that are right next to us and creating value out of them. But it is also looking at the natural resource we have and looking for the quality knowledge of how to get value out of it. I want to give you an example.
Yes.
When a farmer has 1 hectare of land, say in Murang'a County,
yes,
he needs to decide, am I going to plant tea or avocado?
Yes.
How does he make that decision? It must be based on knowledge.
Wow. Get an expert.
Get an expert.
Yeah.
Now, when farmers just copy each other without any expert knowledge, then you find that we produce very little using our natural resource. Kenya, if you look at what is happening in Galana-Kulalu,
Yeah.
That's 1 million acres of arable land that Kenya had never utilized since the creation of the earth.
Yeah.
It's not only now we are realizing that we have so much land that we have not utilized. Now, for you to make value out of these blueprints, there is something you need.
Yes.
We call it capital.
Okay.
We call it capital. Now, those who study economics,
as you talk about capital, because I would want you to mention, because there are so many dreams.
yes,
So many visions. Actually, I was to come to that because there are people who are watching us and they are telling you, you have a very good conversation, but you need money
yes.
to do all these things. What is capital?
One of the most important things a man must prepare for in life is how to raise capital.
Yes.
In business studies, we learn that the factors of production, one is land, second is labor, third is capital,
Yes.
fourth is entrepreneurship, that is ability to go to the market. Now, capital is what we may call liquid resource that helps you to activate all the other blueprints. We've only looked at the 2 blueprints. There is the last one, which is specialization. But capital becomes the fuel that unlocks the value out of that land. Land being a physical resource. How do you get greatest value? You need, for example, to do irrigation. You need to do drip irrigation.
Where do I get this?
You need some money. Exactly. So, number one with capital, you must prepare for it. And it is something that our people need to be taught in school. By the time you're leaving university, one of the most important things you need to do is prepare yourself to raise capital. How do you raise capital?
Yes.
In wealthy nations, like among the Jews, they say, money circulates among Jews 18 times before it moves out of the families. And basically what that means is that it is very easy to raise money among Jewish families.
Okay.
In Kenya, people say, warriors, they're very good in raising capital.
Yes.
Why is that? If you study their culture system, number one, they're very honest and very trustworthy to each other.
Okay.
If I give you money to do something, they pay back. How do you raise capital? So number one, if you come from a wealthy family, you can raise money from your family.
Okay.
But it's actually the cheapest source of capital. If your father can give you some inheritance.
A soft loan.
A soft loan. Or your family members, if they're doing well, they can give you some soft loan. That's number one. Now, for most Kenyans, that's not, it's not possible because most families are not able.
Yes.
Number two,
all of them are struggling.
Yes. Number two is that if you have an income source, you start preparing for capital early.
Okay.
For instance, I work a lot in the SACCO sector, and SACCOs are known for savings.
Yeah.
One of the ways a man prepares himself is to save.
Wow.
And save in a structured way. Say in a SACCO. If you save, say, 500,000 in a SACCO, today in Kenya, most SACCOs can give you 1.5 million or 2 million as capital to do something. So how are you preparing to raise this capital? You are saving. Another way to raise capital is to form social structures. Ladies in Kenya are good at doing chamas.
Oh, chamas, yes.
Chamas are a good avenue if they are utilized well. Because what happens in chamas is that people come with the different abilities.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have a lot of what you call idle capital. People who have money, they're not doing anything with it.
Yeah.
Then we have people who have a lot of ideas, they don't have money. So if we were able to create such structures, very social structures within our families, say you have 10 families that trust each other and they're able to raise capital among themselves, it can become a very good source of capital. Wow. When I speak to men, I tell them, you must belong to a chama.
Wow.
Not for other reasons, but for the sake of raising capital.
Invest. When you tell them chama, they think that that's a women thing. We are talking about investment groups.
Yes.
A chama is an investment group. So as a man, do you have an investment? Are you in an investment group?
Yes, a man should prepare to raise capital. So chama or a group is a good place. And we talk of homogeneous groups, a group where you have 10 men.
Yes.
There are things that bind you. For example, it could be neighbors who are not shifting.
Yes.
or there's something that you do commonly. A small group where part of your agenda when you meet is money pulled together.
Wow.
Capital is money pulled together.
Wow.
When it is pulled together and you have developed a value system that maybe, you know, when you need money, you can access it from here.
Yeah.
That becomes a good source of capital. The challenge you have in Kenya is that our trust levels are very low. When people borrow money from each other, they don't pay back. You form small chamas that could act as a very good springboard for capital, but then you realize this one borrowed, he did not pay back. So our level of trust is very low.
Yeah.
And that makes raising capital very difficult.
Yeah.
As you go to wind up, there's a gentleman called Hernando Soto, who did a book that I would recommend. It's called The Mystery of Capital. And what Hernando Soto was doing, he was Prime Minister of Peru at some point. Then he went to work for World Bank and IMF. He was just trying to find out what is the difference between a developed nation and a developing nation. Why are poor country poor? He said he discovered 5 things. One of them is what he called the mystery of dead capital. He said when he visit poor countries, he find that a lot of people have capital that is not liquid. They just amass things.
Are you talking about maybe land in Nanyuki or in Malindi?
Yes, that, you know, that does not, it is not liquid. In other words, it can be there for many years, but it does not help you to create what you call cash flow. That's dead capital.
Wow.
He talks of idle capital. These are assets that people accumulate, but in terms of cash flow, they do not create cash flow. They do not put money in the pocket for this person. So we're talking of dead capital, idle capital, and then he also talked of the mystery of missing knowledge. Among poor nations, he discovered that people don't know how to do things. Even simple things like farming tomatoes. He found that in poor nations, people farm tomatoes in very ridiculous traditional methods. So these are
have not invested in knowledge.
Exactly.
In technology.
Yes. So we came up with the book, The Mystery of Capital. People need to prepare for capital. It is very important.
Wow. Even people in, I know you operate by faith, but prayer will never replace preparation.
Yes.
You need to prepare. Actually, someone said, because we are wrapping up, that when opportunity meets a prepared mind, greatness is born. So this is an opportunity we have. I'm giving you a minute.
Yes. Because
we'll keep this conversation going.
Okay.
I know we have looked at capacity.
Yes.
We have looked at
physical resources.
What do you have?
Yes.
What do you have? Capacity is what is inside you.
Yes.
What do you carry within you? Then the other one, I think possibly we'll create some time to come and look at it. You said is specialization. I know you look at it, but I want you to look at this camera and say your parting shot, give your parting shot, and just encourage a man watching there, someone who is jobless, someone who feel like what they are currently doing is not adding value to them. They are going in circles. Just encourage someone as we head up the show.
I think my parting shot is that men were created to create solutions. And how we create solutions is by giving or by creating enterprises that give specific solutions to our communities. Now, those solutions comes out of abilities that we have and maybe knowledge that we have added onto them, and then mixed with the natural resources that are within our reach to create something sustainable as an enterprise or a way of making money. Our last blueprint is called specialization, which still borrows from the other two. And this is where we say, as you continue doing all these things, you need to keep rising in what you do so that you can come closer to God, where we say you are delivering things at excellence level. In creation, delivered excellence. That is what is expected of you. You need to become a deliverer of excellence in whatever you do in the marketplace. And by so doing, you will create a value chain that creates wealth for you. We'll keep the conversation going.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you for coming up.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to having you more. These are conversations that we need to keep taking off.
Yes.
And to our viewers, thank you for watching. I can see Levered Pauline Jubale from Mombasa, Pastor Kezia James, all the way from Nakuru, Eric Mwenda, God bless you, George Kemani, Mwalim, Bernard Waroe, Bishop. Thank you, all of you, and our very own Apostle David Juma, our executive producer. God bless you for watching. Let's meet here next time, next Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. Kindly let's continue building up this forum. Let's continue sharing with other men. What we are doing is building you as a man and making sure that you have something in the pocket and taking you back to your original place in God. It takes a man to get the best out of another man. God bless you and good evening.
Thank you so much.